going on, man? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Oh,
sir.
Great.
Great to see your face again, man.
Yes.
All right,
I wish it wasn't so close to the camera, but this is just where my mic is right now.
Oh, man, it's all good. Here we go, y'all. Hi, welcome to another episode of the Blackout Tales podcast. I'm your host, Rod. Joined as always by my co-host,
Karen.
and we're live on a Tuesday night. Okay, we're giving you prime time, late night podcasting. Okay, this is what they do on the big channels. All right, and it's a big day today. Okay, today is the day that we recognize Optimus Prime died so that the matrix of leadership could be passed to Rodimus Prime, who would go on to say the future of the entire universe from the planet-eating Unicron when he defeated him. And of course, we celebrated with sales on Amazon because that's what capitalism is all about in America. And in addition to that, we got a guest. Today's guest is comedian, co-host of the Yub Nub podcast. We had Tim Barnes on earlier this year, and Emmy-winning writer who's written for The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, and my favorite, Game Theory with Bomani Jones, and lifelong Phoenix Suns fan, Greg Iwinski. What's up, man?
Hey, how are you?
Good, sweetie.
I guess the obvious question to start with is, what's up with them Suns, bro?
Robert Sarver's, the owner of the Suns, his personal private jet is flying to Teepublic Airport tonight in New Jersey.
Oh, shit.
And so I'm like, look, the last month of my life has been disaster, and so I'm hanging on this KD thing. I'm hanging on. Like,
yeah, the way y'all went out in the playoffs was so just ceremonial. Like very few times when like a loss deflates like a season or a franchise. That one felt like all you bums can go type of angry loss.
Yeah, I think I tweeted, man, I was so mad. I tweeted a bunch of stuff that I did not delete of that. I was like, I have a hard job too, but I show up to my job. There's a difference between having a bad day at work and not showing up to work. And so that game 7, I'm like, you can't respect yourselves. I can't respect you. That's like you write monologue jokes. Maybe there's some days they're all bad, but you wrote them. You know,
right?
And that was like showing up, leaving the laptop closed, and taking a nap at your desk. That's basically what they did.
The weirdest thing about that was the like report that came out the next week that was like, apparently they had a COVID outbreak, but they just played through it. I was like, I don't know, maybe that's what happened. What the fuck was that?
But also, I think the Warriors had a COVID outbreak in the round before when they couldn't shoot. But the difference is they won. So okay, if you're gonna play through COVID, then you still win.
Yeah, like at least show up, man.
If you're gonna risk people's lives, do it for a shiny trophy.
Yeah,
have a purpose.
But it sounds like you're excited about my man KD trying to come to Phoenix. I mean, it's I get that. It's like this. If you're the rest of the league, if you're not Phoenix or Miami, then the obvious thing is like this front running motherfucker just want to go to the best two teams in the league. But
I don't blame him.
You happen to be a fan of one of those two teams. So like, what's it like on your end?
I mean, the Suns fans don't ever think of themselves as the best team in the West or in the league. So that like when that point was raised, I think people in Phoenix were like, we're not, what do you mean he wants to go to the best team? He wants to come to the Suns. The Suns we're not the best team. We have 0 titles. We choked in the finals. We followed that up by blowing a game 7 and the biggest loss ever. Like, what kind of winning team is he coming to? No, we're losers. We just get really far and then we lose. So there's no like front running. Like, we haven't won anything. We have 0 trophies. We have no gold tab on the back of the jersey. We did a parade in '93 when we lost.
Right.
We are not winners. So in our minds, it's not he's coming to a winner. It's, oh my gosh, if we get him, can he beat the curse of being a Suns fan and get us a win? Because but I would say I think a lot of Suns fans are at the same point where it's like, I would do anything. If we cheated, I wouldn't care. Cheat.
Yeah.
Give the other team COVID. Like cut the tires in their bus or like take steroids or change the rim. I don't care. Like if we win a title and a year later it's like, did you know they cheated? Don't care. I don't care. I have shirts, I have hats. I saw a parade. I took my son to
Exactly.
a parade. Like we just don't care at this point. I don't care if it's cheap. I don't care if it's super team. I don't care. We just have to win one. They can lose every season for the rest of my life. It won't matter.
That is the feeling, dog. I get it, because I always say that whenever the NCAA cracks down on a college team that won a championship, like, we are vacating this bowl win. I'm like, you can't vacate memories. Like,
Right.
Exactly.
no one cares about that shit.
Nope.
And like the value
But,
that you get, like they took away Reggie Bush's Heisman, but it's like he's still just as marketable. And so like you can't take away
Yeah, exactly.
The thing about these trophies, especially for people of color, is like that's capitalist value. Like,
Yeah.
even that's like I'm winning an Emmy was so huge to me for so many reasons, because artistic recognition and the few Black people that have done it, all these things, but also because that's capitalist value that then you get to go in and go, I'm propping this door open with this trophy. And so I think for a lot of those guys and players, it's like, yeah, you can take the actual trophy away, but that doesn't do anything.
Right. And not to make it too sports centric, but I just wanted to say, like, I know me and a bunch of people had a couple years where I was a Suns fan when Barkley was there, because he was my favorite player.
He was a beast.
Yeah, I like, you could not have told me they weren't going to win a championship that year. Like, still, that was when I understood that the Suns were a cursed franchise. When they didn't win that ring, I was like, oh, it's just never gonna happen.
I mean, if they had played defense for like 12 more seconds, they could have got to a game 7.
Just one rotation. You know,
I watched that. I tell you what, that Last Dance thing came out. And the text between Suns fans, it was like, we know it's coming. And watching that last 30 seconds over again, man, I didn't realize how bad that was. Like, I saw it as a kid and I was crying because I was 11 or 9 years old or whatever, and I'm crying. But like, watching it again, it hurt just as bad, because you're looking at the 8 different places if we had done something different, then it's a game 7, and you're just like, man, that hurt so bad. And then the crazy thing is, then last summer I fly to Phoenix to go to finals game 2, because I'm like, I don't know when this is ever going to happen again. I'm going to go. And so I went and watched the game with my dad on TV, but then I came back and I watched a game at the arena with some friends. And we win, and I'm like, we're up 2-0. This is the closest the Suns have ever been to a title. All we have to do is win one more game, and we're the closest we've ever been. Even if we lose 3-4,
right?
It's that, like, we're tied for as close as we've ever been. And then as it just slipped, I was like, man, all I've done is go in a full circle to 1993. We've been 2 wins away. We've been 2 wins away.
Yeah, Barkley. You of course had, even though they didn't make the finals, the infamous Steve Nash fight Suns team that ruined their chance.
Of course, that was David Stern deciding who was going to be champion.
Yeah, which is so ironic, because he also had decided that Chris Paul couldn't come to the Lakers that time. Like, he just was dipping and dabbing in Chris Paul's career. I mean, throughout the league. But I can't lie, man. Growing up as an ACC fan and a Carolina fan, I've always hated Chris Paul. So, like, I was so scared that y'all were going to win last year, because I started seeing people try to turn the tide and start talking about respecting them. I was like, oh, what's this? No.
I think my thing is, like, the first year it was like, okay, he's gritty, whatever. And then the second, last year, this implosion, I was just like, nah, dude. Like, it feels like a rental, and it's like, you're not. Even if they win, he's not gonna be the greatest son of all time. He's not gonna be the greatest son point guard of all time. Like,
right?
Like, and I know there's people. Oh, he's such one of the best point guard. Blah blah blah. I mean, yes, on average, but like Steve Nash was a back-to-back MVP, and that was the prototype for the Warriors,
right?
That changed the league, and he did it while he was Canadian, and. And so, like, and so you look at like Chris Paul. It's like, to me, Chris Paul's legacy is getting hurt, pretending he's not hurt. Then once he loses, leaking to whoever, Chris Haynes or whoever, that he's hurt. And it's like, it's just such a punk move. Like, bro, if we're in a writing room and you're like, hey, I accidentally broke all my fingers, so I can't type, but I'm just going to be like, no, I'm good, and just clack on the keyboard so it sounds like I'm doing something. And then once I'm like, our show got canceled, you're like, well, I was hurt. Be like,
Your fingers were broke the whole
just
time.
tell me you're hurt, and someone else who's kind of competent. Like, look, Campaign is not great, but Campaign is better than a guy who can't dribble.
Right, exactly. Yeah, the thing.
Aaron Holiday was on that team, and he didn't play at all.
Yep. The thing for me, of course, is always gonna be he was hitting people in the nuts. So like, he lost me. Whew, that must have been like.
I mean, I'm a dirty fighter,
98.
so that never bothers me when someone does it, because if you're in a fight, you're in a fight, and if I'm in
it
a fight
wasn't
with
a fight
you,
though. See, that's the thing.
Well-
If you just hit somebody in the nuts, like if you're just walking down a New York street, some dude hits you in the nuts. It's like, bro.
well, now
What's
it's a fight. But now it's a fight.
But it's a fight because you made it a fight.
Yeah,
after I
that's
got
true.
hit in
But
the
man,
nuts.
if
Like,
I
put
think
me
if
at a
Chris Paul hits
disadvantage
you
right away,
Chris Paul's only 6 feet tall. If he hits you in the nuts, start a
I'll
fight.
never respect it. That you know who else is 6 feet tall? A lot of people, and they don't got to hit people in the nuts. Steph Curry is not hitting people in the nuts.
No,
Just put
he's
that 40 on them.
Chris Paul is he doesn't like the term. He's a dirty player. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of Dennis Rodman was my favorite player as a kid. He played dirty.
Mine too. Still
Draymond,
didn't hit people in
dirty.
the nuts. Crazy.
Ooh, he hit a
Draymond hit
photographer in
people
the nuts.
all the time.
Dennis Rodman hit a
Draymond-
photographer in the nuts who wasn't even on the
Photographers don't
playing the
count.
game.
No
With his
advantage.
foot, he kicked him. Remember that?
There's no advantage in the game to kick that photographer in the nuts. Like, but if he was kicking if he was like kicking Karl Malone in the nuts, I would have had way
Karl
less
Malone
respect.
kicked a guy in the nuts every layup. He did that knee forward.
I never had respect for Karl Malone.
Also
You just
got a
named
13-year-old
people I hate.
pregnant, but
Yeah. You just naming people I hate now.
Karl Malone.
Draymond Green, no respect. Kicking people in the nuts, I don't like it.
The one thing that Draymond Green called Kendrick Perkins a coon, and I thought, finally,
Dude.
Draymond Green did a thing I liked.
You know what's crazy about that though? He called him a coon for something that was not coon related. It was like he just did it to for the flex. Like,
Yeah,
I was like, damn.
I mean, it's been waiting. It's been in the back because
Like if he would have did it when he was caping for the girl that woman who-
Rachel
Nichols, yes.
Mhm.
If he would have did it, that would have been peak time to do it. But he did it like a year later when everybody was like, "What? Why are you?" What
I
was that
mean,
about?
I don't know. Kendrick he's leaning so hard into that fake voice that I'm surprised he doesn't wear overalls.
I love his voice now.
He's gonna
I
come.
don't
I
know
mean,
why.
because come. He's like
It's
he's
such
turning
good
into
TV.
he's turning into a cartoon that's so racist you don't let your kids watch it. That's
He's
where that
such a
voice is
good-
from.
He's such a good character. He's such a good character.
Good God, Mr. Master General, I got all the cotton picks real fast. Anyway, the Nets is gonna win. I'm like, come on, Kendrick, what are you doing, man?
That's
Did you
just
know
how
what?
you talk.
You know who watches ESPN? It's not all black people. It's a bunch of white businessmen in their
Yeah.
40s who are like, that is how they all talk. That Kendrick guy. That's
Well,
how
that
they
ain't
are.
his problem. Okay, he is a country boy that talks that way. And at first, I thought, man, it's such a perfect way to talk because it's impossible to do an impression of him without sounding racist.
Oh, you can't do an
So
impression.
I was like, this is perfect for him because like he's leaned so hard that you can't mock him. But then Keenan on SNL did a pitch perfect impression and
I
honestly
love that dude.
made it even better. I was like, you know what? Now I need Perk on everything so Keenan can be on everything. But
Mhm.
yeah, he does talk kind of funny.
It's
like-
less. And look, the voice isn't what bothers me. What bothers me about Kendrick is that you can clearly see that an ESPN producer comes to him and says, say this. And he goes, cool. Because the check's going to cash. And so he just says whatever they hand him.
I'm
And I'm
not
like,
listen.
And I'm like,
Did
okay,
you
that's
see his-
fine. But
Did you see his response to Draymond?
I did not. What was?
Oh, see, I'm about to put you on something, Greg. You about to take all this back. This is crazy.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna tell you right now, I will never say anything bad about Mr. Perkins after what I saw him say to
I
Draymond Green.
I can deal with him. It's the brothers with the teeth that get me. How they talk through their teeth.
the Acho brothers. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh
That-
gosh, yeah.
Yeah. Here's all right. So I'm about to put this on screen. I won't play the whole thing,
Okay.
but I promise you, after you hear this, you're gonna think twice about the things you just
Okay.
said.
Hey, Draymond, you good? The fuck wrong with you? Did you just win your 4th championship? What the fuck you worried about me for? What, you mad? You mad because I'm doing it my way and it's happened to work? I'm doing it my way. I ain't got to do it your way. I'm doing it my way. But look, forget the old media, forget the new media. I'm going to stand by the old law, right? And the old law says, hey, man, all that disrespect and all that hoe shit, calling somebody a coon, man, you got me fucked up. Ain't nothing a coon about me. Ain't no cooning, ain't none of that. Straight up. And here's the thing, right? We all know, dog. We all know. You all bark and no bite. We know this. The NBA brothers know this. A lot of them that's talking behind you, behind your back with the whispers, they know this. They know you not gonna do nothing. This is proven. This is facts. We know that. So
I'll stop it there. He goes on to imply that when he does see Draymond, he does intend to do some things.
So it's like a meet me in Temecula.
And then ironically, within 24 hours, Draymond apologized. I don't know why he apologized. If he saw the video I saw, but he seemed to take it back and say
that's the problem with Draymond is Draymond doesn't like fighting. I think Dennis Rodman liked fighting. I was a kid who I grew up. I liked fighting. I would find a reason to fight. Obviously, I'm not big enough to fight Kendrick Perkins because I, don't eat only fried chicken all day or whatever.
Yeah, that's a big motherfucker, dog. I don't think
he one of them country boys.
There's like 3 people on the planet that want their hands with Kendrick Perkins. Dog.
He's gonna pick me up like I'm a bale of hay.
Yeah.
Toss you over his shoulder.
Right, and still be talking like that too. Boy, I'm gonna break your neck like a chicken. Yeah. Like,
and hey, my wife is a Thunder fan, so she'd be like, "Hey, what's up? Could you sign this?
Can you sign this in his blood? Thank you." Oh man. Oh, but let's talk about what we really want to talk about.
Okay.
Talk about you, Greg. Okay. Sorry to get into that Suns tangent. I know it's a hard place to go. But like, how'd you get your start in comedy, man? Like, was this something that you were doing when you were younger, like even in high school, junior high school age, or was it something that didn't happen till later in life?
Well, my dad is a TV executive and my mom runs a bank, and that's how most late night writers start. No, I was like a weird nerd getting homeschooled in the desert of Arizona. So it wasn't the class clown, it was just me. So it was a lot of like just being alone and thinking and coming up with weird stuff and growing up on a diet of very weird comedy that my parents watched. So like watching a lot of like Peter Sellers movies and like weird Canadian comedy stuff like the Red Green Show, and then obviously a lot of Conan, SCTV, SNL, Letterman obviously, and just a bunch of weird offbeat stuff. Beekman's World, which is a kids show that was like very weird, and then like Animaniacs, Freakazoid, et cetera, et cetera. So like a lot of like things that were odd, and that being my intake. But I didn't really think comedy could be my job or life until I was in my 20s. I've already gone through school and started a career and stuff like that, and just got really disillusioned and bored with what I was doing. And so I went on I grew up Catholic, and I was like, this is a big decision, so I'm going to go on a retreat. So I went to Minnesota, and I stayed with these Carmelite monks who are silent. They don't talk at all, and you don't talk at all.
Oh, okay.
And I was there for 8 days, and I was like, what am I going to do with my life? And so during that time, I realized I was like, oh, I'm going to go to Chicago, which I'd been thinking about. I'm going to go to Second City and study comedy and see what happens, So sold all the stuff I had in Arizona, flew out, got a job as a tour guide at Museum of Science and Industry, and signed up at Second City and IO and started doing comedy there. And so it was a thing where it's like, I will be honest in that, like, that was also the time where 30 Rock and Studio 60 had come out.
Mm-hmm.
And so the gaze on comedians as writers, and that writers were a thing, and that you could be a writer and not just like a stand-up, not just an actor. That was a big thing where I was like, oh, okay. I didn't realize this was like, I knew that was a job, but I was like, oh, you can really do this. So, like had seen that was something I wanted to try to do. And so I did that. And it was went to Second City, and then once I was there for 3.5 years, I think. And just doing nonstop. It's like that thing when you're starting out, and then also you're in New York or LA or Chicago, do your day job, go to Second City, have dinner with some, or have eat McDonald's or Chipotle with some friends, like talk about comedy, go see one show, get out, go see another show, get out, go do a show, get out, go do another show, get out, go to the bar until it closes, go to sleep, get up, day job, boom.
How did you have the confidence just to be like, I'm selling all my shit and moving? Like that is a very huge choice and decision to make at any age.
Well, so one of my friends growing up, her dad was Tom Wilson, who's a stand-up comedian and a painter, and he also was in the Back to the Future movies. And he was a voice on SpongeBob SquarePants, and did a lot of that stuff. And I talked to him for a while because it was like he's like very, very funny and very experienced, and and so I talked to him for a while and was like, well, how do I know if this is like a thing I should try or if I'm just trying to be funny or whatever? And he said, well, everybody has different friend groups. You have your work friends and your school friends and your home friend. And he's like, and if you're the funny person in all of those groups, then maybe you are funny. And I was like, and then I'm sitting there like, oh yeah, I guess that's okay. And so that was a big help to like, from someone who went and took the leap and did it, was like as a starting point to go, okay, maybe I do want to do this. Then I went to Second City for like an immersion week and just did stuff in Chicago for a week to see like, okay, what's this scene like? And thought, well, this is great. And also seeing the other people who were also just starting off going like, okay, well, they're not like way better than me. We're all just kind of starting. And so then
I would have figured homeschool would have made me doubt myself, because then it's like, who's my target audience? Like I need an audience. Like, were your parents a good audience to let you know you were funny? Or I mean, can you trust them? Because it's like, then they love you. Like they better laugh,
That was not, my parents weren't those kind of people.
Okay,
they were just gonna laugh because it was me.
Tough audience. It's like mom and dad, tough crowd.
Like,
man.
what else?
I told my mom when I was like getting a job in TV, I said, Mom, if I get a show, will you come to my show? She said, I'll come to the first one.
She keeping it real.
I was like, okay.
Like, I can't promise you after that one now.
Yeah, I was like, okay, well.
You should have told her like, no, don't do that. Come to like the sixth one.
Yeah, wait till they get good.
Let me get a little bit better at it.
But I think part of it was like the audience is always me. And I know that there's like, you want your audience to like your stuff, but like my audience is people like me. And so, and that doesn't necessarily mean black men in their mid-30s. It means people to whom the world hits them the way it hits me, whatever body they're in, whatever life they're in. I know that they're out there, and there's not people making a bunch of stuff for them. So I'm making stuff for that, like me, because then when they see it, they'll go, oh, I like that guy. I like what he does. And so a lot of my stuff has been like that. And then, and then there's people, my dad has a similar thing. And like, there's just like a lot of, there's a lot of, I think there's a confidence that came from homeschooling because I had already done something that was hard, because I didn't go to regular school. Then I didn't go to high school. I started college when I was 13.
Wow.
And I took my time. I finished when I was 20.
Super senior.
Yeah. So I I got my GED when I was 16. I got my associates when I was 18. I got my bachelor's when I was 20. So
everybody knew you were, at that point, everybody knew you were smart. Like it wasn't like a matter of, so then it's like, what do you want? You really had to figure out what you wanted to do with your life.
And that was the thing, is like, I'd already been, especially because I was in a Catholic world, I'd already been speaking and doing public speaking and youth ministry stuff. So like standing in front of 2,000 people with a microphone is like, okay, fine. I've been doing that since I was 15 years old. That's like not scary, or it's like, I'll stand up there and do nothing with a microphone in front of 2,000 people and like just kind of hang out. Like it's not a intimidating. I'm sure there's a size crowd that is intimidating.
Right.
But I've not been in front of that size crowd yet.
Right.
I hope I would be.
So what about Second City? What is Second City exactly?
So Second City is a there was a kind of in the 60s, and even actually way before that, there were these, improvisational theater schools and people building this artistic form of improv comedy. And so then the Second City was founded as a theater where improv comedy would be turned into sketches. And so you would do improv every night, and when you would get off stage and go, that scene was actually really good, you would start to write it down. Then you would do it again the next night and see what worked. And by doing it over and over and over and over again, you would end up with a finished version that was revised basically through improv. So improv as a way to write sketch became the Second City process. That's what process is at Second City. And so what you would do is a team of 6 improvisers would create a full 2-hour long review out of that process. And that still happens now.
And you were there for a couple years just doing that stuff.
And so
Wow.
I was not on those top stages where you were doing a full review every night to a paid audience, whatever. But doing that meant that they started a school that then taught you how to do that, and then branched off to how do you do musical improv, how do you do this, how do you do that, how do you do that. And so then, you know, you start churning out some incredibly talented improvisers. You know, like I mean the list is very long, but I mean, yeah, Tina Fey and Tim Meadows are there, then Farley's there, then like I mean Sam Richardson, just from the people when I was there, Sam Richardson, Tim Baltz, Katie Rich, it's just I'm forgetting, but there's so many people who are mega famous and doing awesome things are all from Second City. And so it's Chicago is a very grind town. It's a hard work, blue collar town. That's why it's so pro union. It's why it's like way more left of a city than like New York City. It's like it's like they're not, no, there's a small neighborhood of Trumpy people. We know where they are. And so like that, it's just putting in that work, and it's a place where you're like, you're not doing improv because you want to be on TV. You're not doing improv because you want to be on SNL. You want to be famous. You're doing it because you love improv. You love comedy, and you're doing it because you love it and you want to get good at it. And so you know, because there's no industry there at all. There is no, oh, an agent's coming tonight. Oh, someone's like, when you're in LA, a thing that I always notice about LA shows is every cast member at a lot of shows says their name out loud in case there's an agent there.
Oh, right.
But when you come on Chicago, you're like, we're fart butt. Anyway, here's some sketches. And like, because you're just like, we're just doing it because we love doing it.
And what was the day job at the time? Like you were grinding that.
So I had 2 day jobs. One was at the Museum of Science and Industry doing tours. So they hired a ton of improvisers because improvisers can remember all the facts we have to say about like this old warship, and we can perform. And so when there's like a bunch of kids, you can be like, haha, I'm in a little lab coat and here's a joke about this and this thing's funny. So a lot of that, and a ton of improvisers worked there. And then I worked there actually with Pat Rowland, who writes for Amber Ruffin now.
Wow.
We both worked there. He worked there for a long time. And then my other job was at this place called Family Promise, Chicago North Shore, which is a whole family homeless shelter. Ending homelessness is like my number one. If I could use $1 billion to fix a problem in America, that would be the one I want to fix.
Yeah.
Because it's so unnecessary. It's not like cancer where like it just happens. This only happens because it's voluntary. And we got to do a Last Week Tonight episode on homelessness also, which I was very proud of. But it was a whole family shelter, so that if you were a mom, a dad, and kids, you didn't get split up into like men's and women's shelters. And so, and it also believed in rapid rehousing, which meant like we tried to get you in a house within 90 days, because if you're homeless for less than 90 days and you're right back in with a place and you're paying rent, then you're just like, you can tell people in a year, we had a couple of bad months, but you weren't like, you have not changed. Nothing has changed in terms of your life as you're coming out of it. It was like, we had nowhere to stay. We were in a shelter for a couple of months. Now we're back in a house paying rent. We have the same job. We blah, blah, blah. Like you can get people right back and they don't get stuck into it. So I worked there because that was my week. That was like my weekend job. And then in the weekdays I would work at the museum. And so I was working at both of those. And then I would go back to Second City at night, be at Second City all night, then go to my apartment, crash, get up. And then I went through the improv program and the conservatory program that they have. And then got to a point where I realized, okay, late night is what I really love. So I decided to make a late night show with my friends called That Just Happened. And so we did a hour long. And this shows like this is doing something that I think we all wanted to get good at, even if it wasn't the hottest thing in the streets. Because it was not a late night show. It was Joe Quazala, who's a very, very funny comedian. He's on Twitter. He did a video where he reenacted the scene from The Slap, where it's a slap, except the little boy is a Dracula. It's insane and it's very good. And anyway, he does so much funny stuff, and he's in LA. He's a great comedian. He was doing a late night show that like CJ Toledano was on, who I think does a ton of NBA stuff now, and wrote for Fallon at the beginning. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do the news one. So we did a 1 hour news show on Saturday nights at midnight, and people did not flock to that, but it was it was crazy.
So what was the venue for doing it? Like, was it at a theater? Was it
that was at Second City? So they have 4 stages, so you can, as a student, rent one of the stages. So we got that stage. We got the smallest stage, the DeMott Theater, and it was like 12 of us, and I was the host, executive producer, and head writer. And then we had 12 people, and we had like a full cast. So I was the guy at the desk, and then we would have people do walk-ons as characters and monologues and bits and all this stuff. And we had a really great team. Carly Mosley, who just got her first Emmy nomination at Colbert, she was there with us. So we both did last week tonight. And Omari Brown, who is at Colbert as well, he was on last week. Or he was on That Just Happened. So like That Just Happened was like this team of people who were in Chicago at that time that were like, yeah, I'll take 3 nights a week and dedicate it to doing this very hard thing.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
And then it's funny because like you were doing the job before you were doing the job in a way, then like basically doing it for yourself. So was the transition to like writing, was it easier for you to write, and was the like writing a packet and submitting and all that stuff, was that like easy for you, or was that still challenging?
It was still very hard. It was still very hard, but I think that part of what we chipped away at while we were making that show was the idea that you don't that there's no writer's block, that like I have to write this right now. I have to write this because the show's happening. So it doesn't matter. I think with some longer narrative writers and other people I know, there's this idea of like, oh well, I'm stuck and I need to write from this time to this time at this desk, and you're like, no, it's just got to get done. And so one of the best things I got from one of our mentors making that show was like, I can't make a show out of ideas, but I can make a show out of scripts.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, even if it's a bad script, give me the script and we'll go from there.
Yeah, that was my philosophy. I used to, when we would be in the office, and I was my co-worker, co-office person, Tommy. Tommy's very pensive, thoughtful. Like he's a writer's writer. He's a journalist type. Like, and he's like, you got to get it perfect. Then we'll submit. We'll push the deadline because it's not perfect yet, and then we'll submit. And I was just like, and he'd be like, how the fuck do you just turn shit in, and it's like always on time or early? And I was like, because like that's the process, right? Like I'm gonna submit, I hope it's great. I would love nothing better than like the first time I submit them to be like, wow, this is great work, Rod. We can't think of anything else to do. But they never do that. Like very rarely do you get that. That's like a very slim chance that you're gonna get that. So, and even when you do get that, you gotta go through like 7 more fucking steps before showtime. At some point, someone's gonna be like, actually, you know what? There is a thing that needs to change about this. So why even fret over it? Like, to me, they have taken all the stress out of it, because I'm like, here you go. Like, do something with that. Let me know what y'all want. Like,
yeah,
that's the process.
Come back to me later.
I mean, because it's so rare that the thing that you're turning in is going to be word for word what goes on TV, that it's like, you're giving me a piece. And I think especially like a lot of the hosts I've worked with, they just need the pieces to put the pieces together and then make the thing that they're going to make that's bigger than that. So like you're giving them that first thing to bounce off of or to work with, but there's not the expectation that you're not putting it in the prompt. You're not sitting there like, and here I go. Don't even check it. It's so good.
Just say this.
I mean, every writer would
no
like
reason
to
read this again.
The one thing I got the whole season, I think I had one thing that truly had no notes the first time I turned it in. Never made it there. I walked out, I was like, oh shit, I danced in my office and shit. I was like, I can't believe this. No notes, man. I didn't know this was possible. By Sunday, I was like, it's not possible because it's not going to air. So.
No, straight to prompter. Straight to prompter is incredibly rare, and like I remember the jokes that I've done.
I would get a T-shirt of that script if I was.
Because you and I both know that like there's also a thing where it's like you can deliver a perfect joke at 8:30 in the morning. But the thing is, when you go to tape and the host has heard it 12 times and the crew's heard it 2 times, and then he's or she is sitting there going, maybe it's not as funny. And you're like, it is, because the audience hasn't heard it before. They've never heard it. So you remember how you felt the first time you heard the joke where it was so good? That's how they're going to feel when they hear it. But they go, I don't know, maybe we should do something.
Yeah, and then like at that point, it's like, at least with our show, I felt like a lot of that was just about like, because I thought we had some beast ass writers. So by show day, it was really like, do you want to deliver the joke in the way that you know you can deliver it, or if you don't have the confidence, then we just had to give you another joke, not because the other joke wasn't funny, but just straight up like you can deliver this. What is the most confident delivery you can have? Because that's what's gonna make the audience react in the most part. Like we're not writing like, you know, super complex, like impossible to understand jokes and shit. Like they're funny jokes that people will get upon first hearing them for the most part. So like, how do you want to deliver it? Like, would you rather it be a Pootie Tang reference? Because I can do that. But...
Yeah.
I'm rooting for Pootie Tang. I can't wait till you get that through. That was our jam.
Yeah, that was that show was a little bit more of like a full lift and joke replacement that you were like, we're not going to try to tweak it. But I think it's just across the board in late night. I think, yeah, the people's ears get used to it, and then you end up losing good jokes and stuff for that. But I think, yeah, making our show where we were doing 3 nights a week, and when you're a busy comedian in Chicago coming up and you've got shows and things, like to dedicate that much time was kind of an example of how much you had to care about it, because it was a writing night and a rehearsal and the night we did the show. And so I'm so proud that we did it, and I think that they were really good. And I think that
how long did y'all do it for?
A year, I think.
Wow, shit. Wow, that's
and
amazing.
We did a couple seasons where you take a couple off, come back and do it again. But it was a chance to also to make big mistakes and to try really hard and fail with no consequences. It's a thing I talk to young writers about a lot now, which is like, you don't want your young mistakes to be on YouTube.
Right.
You want them to be in a small theater with a crowd of regular people. And if it dies, you go, cool, I learned. But there was no stakes. No one's going to Google me 4 years from now and see that and go, oh.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And especially the way it works now, it's like they Google you on Emmy nomination day. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like it's right when, like, it's enough for you to get far enough where you kind of forget it's out there. And then something amazing happens, something you dreamed about and wanted. And that's when people are like, excuse me. Yeah. Greg used to think blank was funny. He was like, fuck.
Yeah. And that's why that's why, like, you'll see, like, I have up the last monologues I did, which was 2020, the George Floyd ones. And then, like, I think everything before that is basically gone, because it's like, and I'm going to make new monologues. And when I do, the old ones will go away. So that, like, my most recent kind of thing is up. And even with Yub Nub, we've talked about, like, pulling down stuff that's old, because it's like, you know, it's just it sits out there, and you know, it's, you're not sure if you want to keep it out there, not because you say anything bad, but just because it's like you're getting better all the time. And so because I think, like, I don't know, that did you guys see that Jake Novak TikTok video, the kid who wanted to apply for SNL and he made a singing musical thing for that? Can you pull this up and play it?
Okay, tell me, describe what I should put in the search.
Jake Novak SNL. It's a TikTok or maybe an Instagram, and it's a young white man, and he's applying to SNL with a video.
Okay, I think I found it.
And I think if you watch the first like 20 seconds, you'll understand.
Okay, I'm about to put it on screen for us. So
I want to be the next SNL cast member, and here's why I should be a contender. Hi, Lorne Michaels, I'm Jake Novak, and I know that you're feeling the heat because your roster lost Kate, Kyle, 80, and Pete. That means you got an open seat, and I feel I ought to be feeling it, because when it comes to comedy songs, I kind of been killing it. See, weekly music videos are my jam, bruh. I'm a rapid rhyming hammy nerd like Lin-Manuel Miranda mixed with Sammy Berg, but haven't you heard? I'm more than a rapper. So I'm an actor, too, so here's a couple of nice guys.
That's So he did that, and the response from the internet was not good.
Oh,
to that.
What happened to the? What was the response? I need to know now.
From comedians, it was unsparingly negative.
Oh no!
Because I would say one thing not to do when you're applying for a job is to go, "You guys are screwed because the 4 biggest people on your show just quit.
So hire me."
Hire me. Anyway, you guys are probably in trouble. So you should hire me, a guy who's making a TikTok. Also, I'm Lin-Manuel Miranda plus added Andy Samberg. Anyway.
Oh man, that sucks for him.
And my thing is, that would be that guy should, there's like, but the thing is I don't, like, when I think about that, I don't know Jake Novak. I don't know anything about him. That could have been a weird bit to go viral, and he doesn't even want to get on SNL. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like, when I was making choices like that, I was doing them in front of no one. And I now
Right.
look back and go, "Whew, thank goodness. When I was doing the wildest swings like that weren't really my voice, they were going, what is my voice? Maybe I'm gonna try this. Maybe I'm gonna try this. Maybe I'm gonna try this. You know? And so now I come out when I'm taking a shot, I know what I want to do.
Right.
Yeah, and to me, how can I say, it's a lot of disadvantages now to an extent, because to me it's almost unfair, because like that's a part of the process. It's making errors and making mistakes and screwing up. But we're in the age now where you almost have to do the TikToks and the YouTube. You almost have to put your face out there, versus before you could kind of do more underground stuff. You can still do it, don't get me wrong, but won't nobody know who you are.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's weird because like that also the selection process has been kind of going through a lot of these mediums now.
Yes.
Well, they used to ignore those people,
Mhm.
but there's a lot of talented people out there. I mean, imagine being like, we're not gonna fuck with Bo Burnham, you know, like that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of soot you have to go through, and for those people, your process is marked. You know, it's like it's like how if you've been on Twitter long enough, you should delete your old tweets at some point, just because like I guarantee you that first of all, you're never looking for that diamond in the rough. Like you're never like, oh, 12 years ago.
You know, I forgot.
Now. I went back. I deleted. I think everything before like 2016. I have like 12 tweets left because I got on in 08.
Right.
And I saved, but there are some I couldn't let go because I have a joke. I have this joke that I love, and it's an example of my voice.
Right.
And it's like just a 3-line scene of a woman and her husband, and she's like, I have to tell you something. I've been diagnosed with minions. And the husband goes, what the hell? You promised me you got tested before we got married. And then she goes, babagaya. And that to me, that scene,
word.
I think is so like if I saw that on television, I would melt down crying because I think it's so funny.
So here's the thing with that, right? I'm not saying you had no tweets worth anything.
Yeah.
I'm saying it ain't worth keeping all the tweets.
No, it's definitely not.
Yeah, like it's like they find like the old tweet where you were like, listen, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not really understanding what transgender means. It's like they gonna find that tweet
needs to go.
and then you'll be like, fuck, the Minions tweet was not worth the
No, that's true. I was going through one by one and being like,
that would be the only way, because I tweet a lot, so I just delete them all. Fuck them. But I always come up with something else. The thing that always reminds me that I'm smart to delete my old tweets is that I have Facebook, and the Facebook memories will be like, remember when you thought this shit was smart? And I'm like, oh Jesus, what was wrong with me?
So I'm like, this Joe Rogan guy's got some great ideas.
Yeah. Oh nigga, mine was Adam Carolla. I thought he was I was like, yo, Adam
He
Carolla.
slowly changed. It was like this. He used to did not talk like that. And
I know.
over time, I was like, oh.
I'm like, thank God every tweet sharing his podcast is gone.
I'm trying to think of what. I'm trying to think of what bad person I liked back then that I would have to change.
I feel like
I'm sure there was something.
Yeah, because also like under Trump, I feel like people went from like a gradual, like especially if you were a fan of any white dude, it was like dicey as fuck that they were gonna go to that gradual like
which side
libertarian.
Place. See, I got rid of so many of those people who were just already cut out because I was like, okay, you're racist.
Okay.
Also, somebody in the comments said Dennis Miller changed. It's I think it's Anthony Jeselnik's best joke is that 9/11's greatest casualty is Dennis Miller's career.
Yeah. Oh no, man, that was a dude. I was like, he's so smart. And it was just like, oh no, he's just playing the hits for MAGA.
You know who does a really good, Brian Stack, who was on Conan's show a lot, and then was my office mate at Colbert. He does a very good Dennis Miller impression. The whole walk around.
You.
Hey, it's like George Custer's tomb. Chat. You know, weirdest thing when he does.
So what was the process? Were you like applying and submitting the whole time you were in Chicago, Second City, to like late night shows, or was this like a thing that like was there like a okay, I'm done doing my year of hosting this show and now I'm gonna start submitting?
I realized I needed to leave Chicago because one of the creative directors in the Chicago scene was like, you got to leave Chicago because they're not basically like, also when I was there 10 years ago, There was like one black person at a time. Right.
Oh.
And so the list was like Sam Richardson was there, Edgar Blackman's there, Chris Redd is there.
Mm.
Then maybe me,
Mhm.
and maybe some other very good people also
Right.
there. And that's just black guys, because also like Ashley
Right.
Nicole Black is there. Like there's, you know,
Is it like some Highlander shit? Like with two
Right, I
black?
about to say there can only be one.
Yeah.
it's just it was that white liberal thing of like, I mean, we can't
We
be
have
racist.
enough.
We're the good guys.
Yeah,
So
we
this is
have
what we're
quota.
doing.
We have enough diversity today. You can go home.
Yeah, I mean, Second City was a place that when Tina Fey got there and said, "How come there can only be 2 women on a cast of 6?" They said, "Well, what parts would they do if there were more than 2 women?" And she said, "It's an improvised show. We are making up the parts."
That's like
So,
when
like-
SNL, they only really got black women on screen because Keenan was like, "I'm not
I'm not
putting on a
doing this
dress."
no more.
Like Keenan just basically like, "Yeah, I'm seeing what's happening. I'm the one man put on a dress guy for every
Mhm.
black character. Can y'all just hire a black woman and we can just stop this now?"
Yeah, it is the Garrett Morris thing. I mean, that still happens everywhere where it's like,
Damn.
I've been the diversity hire at many places. I've been the second black person ever hired at a couple different shows. You know, like
Which is wild because like my first impression of Greg was we were in a room going to a meeting, and I walked in and this dude had a John Brown t-shirt on.
Oh yeah, American hero, American hero, John Brown.
What did the shirt say exactly? It wasn't just John Brown. It
It
had
said-
like words.
It said John Brown did nothing wrong, which I stand by. As a person.
So that's so funny that like somewhere there's white people like, this will be our diversity hire. Then they get in, they're like, fuck.
That's been my experience. I would say that my experience in my career has been exactly that. Someone hears me talk and they see me write very smart political comedy and they go, that's a black person that I'll feel comfortable with. And then I walk in and I'm like, white people are bad. And they're like,
Yeah.
It's like we made a mistake. Who
Yikes.
fired him?
So
he's even got a white wife and he still thinks that.
yeah. How does the Stephen Colbert how does that come about?
Well, I was at the Second City. I go to New York. I go to LA. I'm doing comedy. And I got this thing called the NBC Late Night Writers Workshop, which was a life-changing and incredible thing, run by 3 women, 2 of them women of color, Grace Moss, Karen Horn, Britta Wanger. And they it was an NBC program where you would write a packet, they would pick you, and I applied 4 years in a row. Didn't get it. Not a finalist, nothing. Just got nothing. 4th year, got in.
Wow.
4th year, I would say the difference was, 1, I was a better writer, but 2, I wrote, I'm gonna write what I really got to the thing of like, I gotta write something for me. This has to be a thing I think's funny. And I did something else, like you had to write a sketch for SNL. And I thought, you know what? Other people aren't gonna do. This is where the that just happened comes back in. I said, I'm gonna write a cold about the presidential debate this week because they want it turned in on Friday. The debate's on Thursday night. I'm going to write it and they're going to know I wrote it in a day.
Yeah.
And and that was the year I got in. I don't know if that's why, but it's those things of like, when can I show that I can do a thing that other people can't do?
That
so
was,
I wrote.
That was how I submitted our first round for Game Theory. Was they gave us like a week and I just did mine in a night and sent it in because I was like, I just had this feeling where it's like, when we get to do this shit, there's not going to be a week. You know what I mean? And all I'm going to do is second guess myself. But ultimately, if it took me 7 days to do the shit, then it probably would mean that I won't have 7 days when it's really time. And I will feel like a fucking fraud when they're like, yeah, so we need you to do this thing in an hour. It's like, oh shit, I don't know if I can do that. You know, I've been having 6 days to do it.
Yeah, it's definitely I think that the extra time, what I use that for is just polishing.
Right.
You know, you want to get it done before that, and then you want to just polish and get like, it's that thing of when I'm doing a packet and I'm like, I'll write that first one, and that takes like 3-4 days of the week. But then it's like I walk out to my living room, I'm like, this is like a C- packet. It's not that good. Then I disappear for another 12 hours. Come out, I'm like, well, it's a B+. So that's something. I don't know, whatever. Then I pass out. Then I get up. I do another day. Okay, now it's an A-. Okay. And then you disappear, and now you're like, okay, this is the last night, and you go all night, and you're like, okay, it's A+. and then you turn it in, and then you wake up the next day, you already turned it in. It's the day it's due. You're like, cool, that was good. I did it. And sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. I mean, a bunch of shows have I've done packets and they haven't hired me. All of those shows are canceled.
Of course, yeah, they didn't know what they were doing.
Just gonna say that everyone who's asked me for a packet and not hired me has had their show get canceled.
That's why Game Theory got renewed. I think I
had to keep my streak going.
Keep that streak going, baby.
I was like, please don't break the streak. No, but so that helped a lot. So then it just became this thing of once that was kind of the break, and they did a really good job breaking a lot of people of color into industry. John Terry Gadsden, who wrote on Black Lady Sketch Show, just got an Emmy nom. She was in my class. She and I wrote. I was with Allison Toffel, who wrote on BoJack Horseman and is writing on the new Twisted Metal series. We were in there together. I mean, like, I met Mark Kramer, who's a Filipino guy who is on Last Week Tonight right now. Yeah. Just a ton of people came through the late night workshop, and so that kind of gave you some network backing. So then you start like submitting. So then I'm submitting to Fallon, I'm submitting to SNL, I'm submitting to their stuff, and you start hearing about packets from those people. And then so I applied to everything, but then it was like spring of 2018, and I applied to Colbert really early because they were hiring, and I knew John Thibodeau from Chicago, who was the first black guy hired by Colbert, and so I have known him for a long time. He told me there were packets, got my name on the list, turned in a packet. I think I did a whole nother packet and got rejected before I heard anything back, and I was like, okay, whatever. Then got a call, boom, we love your packet. Do you want to work here? Yes. See you in 10 days. Cool. Moved to New York in 10 days.
Holy shit.
And just jumped in. And
how long does it typically take between submitting a packet and like here? I'm guessing it varies, but hearing back and if you made it or didn't make it, or sometimes they not even tell you that you got rejected.
Yeah, a lot of shows don't tell you got rejected, and so the shows that do, I usually send an email back to be like, "Thank you. This is very polite and nice for all the people applying to know we didn't get the job."
Right.
I think Sam B does a nice job of that. And when you don't get it, they just tell you like, hey, sorry you didn't get it. And I think Last Week Tonight does the same thing. It's just a polite thing to do. And it also, again, I think one of the things that you realize show wise is like, you're going to ask these same people again, probably to apply at some point. And so you don't want to put a bad taste. I think about it when I have a late night show at some point. Think about it all the time. It's like, what is the rep in the scene going to be about your show and applying to your show? You know, it should be easy. It should be like we've done packets, you know, and like I've done dozens and dozens and dozens of packets, and you're doing a ton of work like for free, but to apply. Right. And my attitude has always been like, fine, I can do it. I mean, it's like I can always write more jokes, so I'll write some jokes. But when I have a show, I think what I would like to do is like, Rod, now you're familiar with Scripto. And like, I'll be like, look, you have 2.5 minutes in Scripto. Right. I don't care what you do, but you have 2.5 minutes. You have 2.5 minutes in Scripto timing, and it needs to be about a news story from this week. You go, you do whatever you want, but it's a constraint, but it's also, you can make it whatever you want it to be. Right. And so you hopefully get that person's point of view, like their actual perspective, as opposed to just them saying, this is what I think you want to hear. And I get to see everything, because it's like, then what's your attention to detail? Where are you pulling shots from? Are you good at cutting down a clip to just the most important part? Like, you know, like are you taking care of those small things? Like, give me a finished script, a script you think that I could read right into a prompter right now. I'll give you 2 minutes, 5 minutes, I don't care. Like, I'll give you some Scripto time, do that, and then send me something else you've made that you're really proud of. So what's it like at the Colbert show? Like, what's the process like submitting, right? I mean, not submitting, like, we know you submitted, but like writing every week, and that show is like what, 4 nights a week? It's 5 nights a week. You do 5 shows a week. 5 shows a week. You tape 4 nights a week, and then because you do 2 on Thursday. Yeah. So what is that process like? Because I imagine it's very fucking fast, and you gotta, you know, and Steven, I'm sure, brings his own point of view and jokes and comedy to it. So like, what's writing for him like? Well, you're coming in. I mean, like, I think that's one of those shows where you're trying to find out what stories does everyone have jokes about? What of those stories are the ones that Steven wants to talk about? What is his point of view, and does it match the jokes we already have? And then let's go start working on those pieces. So then I mean, as soon as you have the pieces and we know which things we're talking about, 4 or 5 things we're talking about, you just start making them so that we can get them done. Because I mean, you're rehearsing at 3:00, so it's like, I mean, you come in, maybe you come in at 8:30 and you're talking, you get coffee, you start writing, but like you're turning in scripts middle of the day. So I mean, and again, this is where doing it early becomes a thing, because you're out of a meeting, it's 10:15 and your thing's due at 11:45, and you need to write like 3.5 minutes of monologue about the Undersecretary of Agriculture. and the thing is then it's like, and then you have like 2 writers in there, and it's like there's no time. You're like, should we get coffee? Let's get coffee. I mean, from the kitchen. It's not like you're going to Starbucks,
Right.
but you're like, okay, I'm gonna get coffee. You get a bowl of cereal. We'll be back in here in 5 minutes. It's fine. You know, because you just are like, you're so used to being in an insane situation that you're like, this is normal. And then you come back and you just like, and you churn, and then like you have 3.5 minutes done when it's on time, and you turn it in, and then it just gets whittled down and rewritten and fixed. And then, you know, you have the same thing that you know, all these shows do, where you have a round of dollar signs or TKs or whatever you want to call them, alts, you know, where it's like, let's rewrite the stuff that's not working right at the last minute. And then you tape the show, and then you go home at like 5:30, and you think, crap, I got to have 3 jokes ready in the morning.
Oh my God. And you got to do that 5 days a week.
And you do it every day, like 38 weeks a year. And then you're just like, I'm dying. This is so hard.
Oh my God. I can't imagine, dude.
Yeah. And then people who do 1 show a week are like, this is so hard. And you're like, I hate you. Don't say that. Don't say that it's hard.
Well, I think one of the things you really brought to game theory was helping refine the process, because you had so much experience with the like craziness and just like what would make things easier, what would streamline things and all that stuff. And I felt like by the end of it, it was a lot more of a productive process. Like for the amount of work we put into it to what we got out of it, felt like a lot more efficient than it was before you got there. So like you could see that experience like working in the office. So I appreciated it.
Thank you. I appreciate that compliment. I've thought a lot about what I would do with another shot at it. I mean, like head writing, obviously, but like in head writing a show, it would be, I think we could implement even more. And the nice thing was I got to learn that about any show that I'm at, like the way to, okay, how do we implement a process that's streamlined, that makes us get the most done, but also waste the least time and work, you know, because you don't want any writers to come in and feel like, well, what did I even write that for? You know, because everybody's working hard and trying to do their best. They see an open spot, they got to swing at it, but having a process ready to maximize that talent and not to make it feel wasted, because there's nothing worse than somebody going off being like, hey, I wrote this extra 2 minutes about this funny thing I saw, and then us being like, well, there's no space for that, you shouldn't have done that. Then you're telling them the next time, don't take initiative, and you don't want that. You want a place where it's like, you know, and I talked with Zach about this a lot too, you know, like, because, you know, Zach and I at the end had kind of a lot on our plates, I think, and and just the idea of like, it's like you could really, I think there's a kind of a 2-headed dragon way to do that, where it's like everything can feel very comfortable and not stressful, and then everybody that's writing can be throwing as much on those 2 plates kind of as possible. So it was very fun, and for me it was a cool thing to get off the ground, because I'd never gotten a show off the ground before. So
there was stuff in the beginning that I would do like that, where I just like, because that was the other thing, like writing is almost like at least a game theory is almost like putting out a fire, almost like where it's like there's not a fire right now, everybody just chill around at the fire station, and then just at some point everybody's like, there's a fucking fire, let's go, we got a fire, we got a meeting, we got an hour to get this shit. And so sometimes I would just write shit just to be fucking around and writing stuff. And I remember when I did that when I first, like the first week I was there, and I think this might have been before. It was actually when we were still remote, so it was before Greg got there. And I remember just submitting like shit from just stupid ass ideas we had. Like I wrote a whole parody of Gangster Lean that was just about all the black players that got beat by Coach K. And and Sydney was like, "This is really good, but we don't have the rights to this song, so this will never make the air." I was like, oh yeah, that probably would have been good to know. I appreciate you.
You had to find out what the rules are.
So yeah, definitely. And then you go from the Colbert late night with Stephen Colbert to John Oliver, and now that is what 2 times a week.
It's once a week, yeah.
Once
They
a week.
do
Okay, so
30
that's once
episodes a
week.
year, yeah. So
what was the difference there? Because I remember talking to you about the process there, and this felt like the writers there were a lot more responsible to write like a topic as opposed to just like give me 2 minutes. It was give me an episode almost.
yeah, I mean that kind of has the other in between where you have, everybody's writing punch ups, but you're also like when you're on an episode, you're doing an episode. So it's in the same way that there were deep dives at Game Theory. It's like this is your deep dive, and it's a 26-minute episode of television. And I mean, the nice thing is you build the structure from the very beginning, so that by the time it gets handed to you, you know what you're not in the woods being like, okay, so tires. So we're talking about tires for 30 minutes. What do I have on tires? No, you're like, oh, here's the history of tires from the wheel down, and here's this guy talking about it, and here's what we think about this, and blah 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 blah. Here's a horny tire that we drew, whatever. And but you have all that, and then you go off, and it is an insane part of your life because they're like, okay, we'll see. Like usually get like a week or something, but it's like, see you in a week. And at the end, the unspoken part is like when your script will be done,
right?
So it's like, and so you're just kind of like, and you're just like, and that's the thing is there's that thing I think where it's like you can write something that's good, and then you sit there and you go, this is good, everybody, this is good, but I know it can be great.
Right.
And so like I could be done, and this is true about packets especially and that stuff where it's like this could be done, or I could make it as good as I know it can be. And so then that's when you end up putting it, that's when it goes from like 40 hours to 60 hours to whatever, because you're like, I know this can kill. And so that's a trait that is very helpful. To both be able to recognize the difference between good and great, and then know what it takes to get there, and then most importantly to be able to force yourself to do that when you're tired.
And staff number wise, like how many writers were at Colbert? How many writers are at is it the same numbers about?
I think at Colbert there's like 12 or 14, but then you also have like some head writers and supervising writers, and Steven is writing, so you have a lot of like in all there's like 20 people's hands on the pages. And then at last week tonight I think there are 10 writers, and then obviously John is writing, and then showrunner Tim is writing.
So when they give you like, okay, tires, you got a week, is it just only you get tires? Does everyone get tires, or like 2 or 3 people get tires?
It'll be a couple people. So like that, yeah, a couple people get scripts, and then you're always like trying to take the best of everything. You're always trying to do all that stuff. So it's like you're always trying to find the best jokes by giving a couple people a crack and seeing what they have in common, or what parts they all think are funny, or with what a joke area is. But you're just trying to get volume of jokes, because also it's like, what if somebody just is having a rough day or having a rough script? You want to have another one there. But yeah, there's just in general, there's a lot more solo writing at that show, in terms
what's
of
the thing you're proudest of that you wrote?
Tucker Carlson episode. That nothing I have made in political television has had as much of my voice in it as that episode. That is, I had friends calling me who were like, I know that you did that. I know you did that episode.
That is a good,
because it was like, that was an episode that I mean, I didn't pitch that we talk about Tucker, but like that was an episode where, and obviously, multiple people writing, and John and Tim are writing, and it's like, it's not like I wrote the whole thing or I picked it's my exact argument, but like that one I am most proud of, because it is most what I would say if I was behind the desk with my kind of jokes. Like that was me, my peak, I think, was doing that. So I'm very proud of that. And to make a thing that's 30 minutes long that you can show to your white friend to go, this is why your cousin is turning into a neo-Nazi. Because you think they're just listening to like a libertarian in a bow tie. They're becoming a neo-Nazi, and this is how. And so let's break down. And because I'm obsessed with Tucker, and
Right.
would love to fight him in Central Park if he ever
Oh,
sees
yeah.
this. I will publicly, because yes, he's taller than me, but he's 50.
He
and,
can't fight.
like,
he definitely can't
bro.
fight.
Not
His-
in the
Like
boat
This
side.
is-
there's two type of people that talk as reckless as Tucker Carlson. People who have been in, who are about that life, have been in a lot of fights, and people who ain't never been in a fight.
Yeah.
And he gives me a lot of the latter.
I mean, I think he got beat up a lot at his little
Yeah,
boys'
but,
school
you know,
that they
I'm
sent
a
him
fight-
to after his mom abandoned him.
Yeah,
Because
like
she
a
looked at her
fight
kids
and
and was
get
like,
beat up. Two different things. Like you get beat up, you weren't in a fight, you got beat up.
yeah, no,
He
I
ain't
could,
never been in no fight.
I would love to for charity. I'll do it for a charity.
Yeah.
I'll do it. You know,
Honestly,
and here's
I'll
the,
pay.
if I lose, I will donate it to whatever like white replacement charity fund he's so worried about.
Honestly, I'll pay the fee.
Thank
just to
you.
beat him.
Yeah,
Pay-per-view?
like,
Like,
but just
I
to
got
go,
I want to
just-
watch you beat him.
God, I want to do Central Park, middle of Central Park. Let's go. Let's.
Oh my
go.
God.
Oh, it'd be so because because he's so it's so fake, and that was the thing that was
So
great about that
fake.
episode. Going through and being like, this guy, like, he is a rich coastal elite little
Right.
pretty boy who is like never.
Yes.
He has never like. He's never used a truck to pick something up or change his own
Right.
brake pads or done
Right.
any or like owned like really groomed a horse or all the shit that
Right.
I've done because I grew up on a farm. He hasn't
Right.
done any of that, but he wants to go on TV and be like, I'm talking to you real Americans. Like, dude,
Right.
it's fucking Mr. Monopoly. And he's
Right,
gonna pretend like
exactly.
he's normal. Oh my gosh. It's like he's
Yeah.
just so fake that it's like he's a Happy Gilmore villain. Like you punch him one
Yeah,
time and he's gonna call his
exactly.
dad. So
yeah,
I would
like
so,
he's selling
yeah,
selling
yeah.
products for tanning your balls. Like he's not
He's
not that guy. You know what I mean?
It's so sad, and it's sad, but I mean, charlatans
And
are
then,
very
you know what's
productive
even
in this
worse?
society.
Like the thing that's the worst about like that side of commentary is it doesn't even matter if you're a fraud. Like
No,
It,
it
like-
doesn't matter at all.
like at least like on the left there's a level of integrity where like if you
integrity.
like if you were fucked up back in the day, it'll come up. Like it'll be like, yeah, he's right today. But y'all remember the shit he used to say? With them, it's just like, listen, Tammy Lauren is a good white American woman. Why I don't understand why y'all question her. It's like, well, didn't she used to be like a pro-choice liberal that until yesterday? Yeah, we don't care. Like,
No,
Yeah.
we don't. Yeah, we as long as she take us to victory, we don't care how we
I
get
mean,
there.
I could get a show on Fox if I turned and was like,
literally
liberal TV writer becomes a truth-telling Republican. I could like,
every
and make good money too.
honest
yeah.
to God, every black person, if y'all understand the temptation we have to live with, every black person could be a Fox News celebrity. Now it wouldn't last long,
Mm-mm.
right?
No, because they're
Like-
constantly getting a new model.
Yeah, like it's Highlander. They're also got a version of diversity Highlander,
mhm.
and there will be a new
Yeah,
person
a
that
smooth
will.
90 days. You good if you get 120.
Yeah,
They'll find a
but-
minor league baseball player who's like,
Yeah,
I think
'Cause,
God
like-
hates interracial marriage, and I'm like, okay.
yeah, because they have the lowest qualifications for all of their stuff about like affirmative action and shit. Their qualification for their blacks is the bottom of the. It's just be black. Like,
Yeah.
Herschel Walker? Like every time a clip of him goes viral, it looks like someone is auto-filling from their iPhone as they make a speech.
I think
And
yet
yet
what's so funny
He's gonna
is
get 40% of that vote.
Of
they
course.
because the complaint about diversity hiring and about affirmative action about all these things from
Right.
white people who are racist but disguise it as being concerned or whatever they do
Mhm.
is that the argument is, well, we just need the people who are most qualified. And so if
Right.
the liberals let everyone just mandate minorities get in, they won't be as qualified. The unspoken part being because whites are more qualified and blacks and other
Right.
races are
Right.
inferior, blah, 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 blah. But when you look at the black people that the conservative movement chooses to be their mouthpieces,
Right.
they are completely unqualified and
They
just
are-
exist.
Yes,
And it's,
they
so
are.
the meritocracy disappears when you're looking for black people who wanna,
Honestly,
like,
man,
Yes,
I-
honey. I
Parrot
don't want
Trump.
to. And I'm glad they got rid of perma relaxing. Got them two out there.
yeah, she's talking about dominance. So, I also the thing that's interesting to me is, I would love to be in the non-existent group chat, but there has to be infighting amongst the coon contingent.
Yes.
Like, because there has to be like a bitterness and an anger when it's your time to go. Like,
Oh, it is.
like Stacey Dash had to be so fucking mad at Dominant Silk. You know what I mean? Because it's like, look at these. I already don't like black people. I barely like myself. And then y'all bring these motherfuckers on.
Right,
I
because
was
somebody comes and steps it up, and you're like, but I already sold up. I sold out.
Yeah.
And somebody sold out past me. I mean, look.
Right. I can't go back to my people.
How do you think Stephen A. Smith feels about Kendrick Perkins?
Yeah.
Oh no.
That's absolutely egregious right there.
That's what I do, baby. That's my comedic work.
That's absolutely egregious.
I take big swings. I don't know.
Yeah. You
Just
should
wait
have
till
Preposterous.
I talk with my friends who are going to make a show. It's like, we're going to get canceled the first show.
You actually have to compliment Stephen A. Smith for about 30 seconds before you say something bad.
I mean, look, I like, he was on our show and he was very nice and his interview was terrifying and he's a scary man, but also
you gotta be like, I absolutely love this brother. Okay,
yeah.
I would go to dinner with
close
him.
personal friend. I would give him a kidney, not from me, but from someone in my immediate family.
I call his mother every Sunday night just to check in on
But Stephen A. Smith, this brother.
That dude is the best.
Yeah.
Oh man, the best / worst.
Here's what I want. I want Stephen A. Smith to cut a promo on Eric Adams. That's what I want.
Oh,
this bald man. Now I love this man. I was at the Knicks game. We were holding hands and sharing a pretzel. But this mayor is putting extra cops on the subway to do nothing.
You think we don't got enough cops? Yeah, he would be a great.
That's what I want. I want some Stephen A.
That'd be good.
That's my man.
Just go after him. When I was at the Fashion Institute of Technology, you could ride the bus. It was safe.
No cops on the bus. Like, yeah. So like the other thing too, because obviously, you know, I know about working with you on Game Theory, and it was honor and a pleasure. And I really appreciate it. And not straight up, like we had a lot of conversations. You let me pick your brain because like that is my thing. If you come in my office and I'm gonna ask questions because I don't know shit, and I definitely don't want to be walking. Like I would learn shit and be like, oh, so that's how you do that, okay? And then I would try to utilize that stuff in the process later on, man. It was a big help, man.
Roderick was doing everything. Roderick was like reading emails and stuff, and the lady was like, "You read them emails?" Roderick was like, "Yes, I read the emails."
Yeah. Also, you had a couch in your office, so that's for me, it's a number one magnet. If you have a couch in your office, I will come lay down on the couch.
Basketball hoop. We had, of course, the chalkboard, which I would sometimes write controversial takes on, like, here's the top 10 Star Wars movies in this order, and then people would come in and be like, no, this is the right order. And it helped. It kept I think it kind of made people come through and chum it up and hang out and stuff. And like I said, I learned a lot of shit from you, Greg, which I really appreciate. What about the podcast stuff though? Like, how'd you get into podcasting? Was Yubbing Up your first podcast?
No, well, one note on the other thing that you said is like, also, I think we talked about a lot, is that you are good at the job, and so that makes all the notes easy. Is that there are people who do not have the basic innate talent to do late night, and that's not because they're bad people. It's just because like it's a specific set of skills and a personality type, and the ability to be rejected 99 times and still come back for 100 when you get a joke in.
Oh man, honestly,
like
my
all that
favorite
stuff,
thing was
you know?
when like we had to share documents and we can all see each other working because like once it came to COVID, it was like we had to do it this way. So I would always be hyped to do the alts, especially show day, even because I'm like, it's the job. I get that, you know, it's work, but either we do it or we have a whack ass show. So we be doing it. And like, I know Greg specifically, I would see you in there going, I'm like, cool. We like, let's fucking go. Cause sometimes the other people are like, you know, bullshitting for lack of a better term. It's like, here's a joke that is definitely not gonna make it about Adam McKay. You like, that shit ain't going in there. We know that ain't gonna happen. So for those of us who are trying to submit actual jokes, let's get in there. And I used to look forward to that, man.
I mean, I one thing about alts at any show, I think the best vibe for alts should be everyone feels free to rip ideas that they think are good enough to get on. So not necessarily maybe not good enough to get on. They know they're not they're not an automatic no. Anything that's not an automatic no, throw it in there. And then if we have 40, then you can have a second or two at the end where you can tell all the writers, like, please go back and look at yours. And if there's some that you think are just not going to get picked, please cut those out. But also, like, that it is free. And like when somebody does break that rule and put one in that's like, they want them to say like, yeah, like I'm going to kill the president or something. And then everyone laughs. That breaks some tension because we're doing something very hard in a time crunch. And then that guy goes back and then like erases it.
Yeah, I could tell because Greg will always, we get, you know, we be riffing and then you get to the, like, about the deadline. Greg's like, all right, so now's the time if anybody wants to like go back and look at some jokes. I'm like, yeah, because some of these motherfuckers were wild. This shit shouldn't be in here. What y'all doing? We gonna get in trouble.
I also think there's you really want some alts that aren't just the first time your eyes have been on it. So like if you go back, you might go, ooh, I'm actually gonna cut 3 words out of this, or I'm gonna make it shorter.
Yeah.
Because it's like when you're at an alt, you really are giving somebody something almost straight to prompter. So you want it to be as perfect as it is. But yeah, it's like, so you are doing a hard thing, but the more fast and loose you can keep it that you want to. But yeah, I mean, it was just, you asked a lot of questions and did a lot of stuff, but I think I told you many times in person, like you're good at it.
Man.
You're good at it. And that makes the difference because it's like it's thing. If you couldn't shoot a basketball, then I can't make you a better basketball player, but you can. You can do the skill, and so then the improvement.
That was like one of the first conversations I remember us having was, you know, because we have meetings and shit and all that stuff. But he just came out of office, like I forget what I submitted, but he had read something. He was like, "You're good." I was like, all right, thanks, man.
Which I realize now could sound like super cocky that I walk out and I'm like, I'm the arbiter of, but it's just like. I don't know.
Nah, I mean, to be honest, I think a lot of people have like what do you call it? Imposter syndrome, right? So you got to deal with that. I'm a black person in this late night industry doing this black show. You know, that is gonna definitely end up with the shit we talk about was gonna definitely end up having some detractors, let's say. So, you know, I'm never gonna knock a compliment, man, because you ain't necessarily they're guaranteed to get one, even if you are good as a black person in the industry. Like, still motherfuckers feel like they can't tell you that.
But I don't ever feel like I don't feel like I have imposter syndrome anymore. What I do have is the fear that a bunch of idiots aren't going to recognize that I'm good at this.
Yeah.
So it's not like, ooh, they're going to find out I'm bad and I'll never get a job. It'll be they're dumb and they won't hire me.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna not be good. They're just gonna be pick somebody else.
I think a lot of black people have that, but we think it's imposter syndrome, but it's really just
being qualified isn't enough.
Yeah.
You also have to make white people comfortable.
Yeah. Are you sure anybody's gonna get this reference? Did people watch Martin? You're like, everyone watched Martin. Oh God, I gotta rewrite a joke.
I'm like, my thing when people do that is like, can I do that for all of your references that you assume all white people know? Because not all white people know the same thing. So we're going to, everyone watches Succession? I don't think that's true. I think that's you guys.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, it's like, this RuPaul's Drag Race joke. Great show. 4 million people watch it. So, like, compared to an NFL joke, you know, who knows what more.
So also, like I said, with the podcasting, how'd you get into podcasting in general?
When I worked at this youth ministry company, 2006, maybe 7. Podcasting, this new thing, podcasting. And I was like, we got new desks, me and my buddy Adam. We're building our desks in our office at because it's a nonprofit. It's like 9 at night.
Oh shit.
And we're like, hey, we should do a podcast. And this is very much a Greg Iwinski project where I go, okay, let's do it. And then we didn't ask anyone at work or anything. We just took some mics and some stuff and we made a podcast and we put it up. And then we were like, hey, we made a podcast. and they were like, I'm sorry, what? And we're like, yeah, they didn't know what it is. They didn't know, we did.
Oh my God.
And so started making podcasts. I would review movies and I would we would talk about pop culture and just got a bunch of did random stuff, interviews and things, bands coming in, and we just did a lot of podcasting then, and that helped me build figure out how me and GarageBand and a mic, I can at least make a functioning podcast. So I did that, and then years and years later, during the Trump election, I made a podcast that was called Lose Lose with Greg Iwinski, and it was about how bad the election was going to be, because it was either Trump or Hillary, and they were not the same level of bad, but both to me,
but not
choices
ideal.
that I didn't. It was someone who called black people super predators or a super predator. So not a great two choices. So, but you know me, I'm Mr. like lefty wacko man.
Yeah,
so like
it was funny. Like one of the first conversations me and Greg had, because also my coworker, my office mate Tommy, is like for the proletariat. You know what I'm saying? Like that motherfucker is his desk was just like,
if they did a reverse January 6th, he would be there.
Yeah, like yeah.
You better
like he would. So like they was fitting something, and I was like, all right, let me just bring my Southern perspective to this real quick. We don't got time to play these games. I'm scared of what happens if white people
it's such a I was actually thinking about this a
Yeah.
couple days ago, that it was like, I think you and I are a great example of the black diaspora, of like a black person who grows up in the American West versus a black person who grows up in the South have very different experience. They're both tremendously impacted by racism, but have such different ideas of like what the answers are when you come from the West. Because you're like, because there's no history in the West. In the West, it was like, we had guns too, baby. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you ain't like a black person from Berkeley. It's like, oh, y'all different.
it was
y'all different.
And especially coming from Arizona, where it was like straight 100 years ago, we were straight up cowboys. Like, you know, so it's just there's all the vibes are different. But I think, but yeah, so I did this podcast, and it was basically doing an audio last week tonight episode. So I was doing 20-25 minutes a week on like what was happening in the election, putting clips in, responding to them to show I could do it. And that was really fun and hard work, but still fun. And then I know Tim Barnes from being black in Chicago. It was a tiny group of black people 10 years ago in Chicago. And so I knew Tim, and he loved Star Wars. I love Star Wars. And then Jim, he had known from Comedy Central. And so the three of us were like, hey man, the pandemic sucks and it's like crushing us. So this would even if this podcast is not popular, which it is not, it's really not popular. But it was like, even if we're just doing it for ourselves, it's a chance to escape the pandemic for a night a week. And so we started doing it that way. Wanted to keep it really positive, and it's been very fun to do, because it's just, I mean, it is funny, the people that do listen and support it and like it, and it's very great. But it is so much of it has just been like us getting together and being like, okay, what are we excited about? Let's something that's positive we can be excited about this week, and getting to talk about it. So it's been a different podcast experience for me, because it's been with other people, and you know, we just finished season 3. We're starting season 4 in like next week. So that's been really, really fun. Again, I feel like podcasting has changed so much, because when I started it in the mid 2000s, you know, Marin hadn't even blown up yet. Like podcast, it was like just Serial, I think, or like something. Like there were not a bunch of huge
This American Life.
That was it. Yes.
Everywhere.
Dan Carlin's hardcore history.
Yes.
Like I remember these days of being, because
I
like
used to think it was all white.
yeah, we started our show, I want to say 2010 or something like that.
10.
Yeah, and I remember people would be like, I found your show because I just put in black in the Apple search for podcasts.
So many
and
people.
y'all were the only show that came up with black people.
Yeah, and the only reason why I got named that was because I was like, I don't know, you might replace me, because it would have been called Rod and Karen Show or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So
it's no, it's just when I feel like when I got into it, it was just like a weird thing that people did for fun, and now it's an industry, and so I am still not doing it. I'm not doing it at an industry level. Like we don't like our podcast, don't advertise. We're not part of a podcast network. I mean, would love to be in a podcast network, but don't even know. I don't know how that even works. Like that stuff, or advertising or whatever. It's like, no, it's just, we're just literally like making a GarageBand file, putting it up, and being like, okay, here, we'll tell you about it.
And
on
now
Twitter.
everything is so monetized. You would like the game of telling people how to get on is now something you have to pay for. Where it's like, we're having a podcast conference. We're gonna tell you how to monetize your show or whatever, how to join a network. That'll be $700 and plus plane tickets. And you're like, fuck, I'm just having fun talking to my boys every week. I don't know if I want to go all in.
Right. And what they don't tell you is like there actually are no rules, because me and Roderick have been at conferences where we spoke, and people have went up and they have said all these things, and we said that we was like, we're completely opposite of everything that they're saying, and we've done it these many years, and we are monetizing and blah 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 blah. So we don't know what to tell you, but it's whatever you make.
We've been on panels where people are like, first thing you need to do is get to 100 million listeners. I'm like, no, the fuck you don't.
100 million.
Like I think it was 100,000 before you even. What was it? We were at RevoltCon. I want to say it was like Combat Jack, Nori, DJ F, and a couple other like big time podcasters.
Damn, my white half is coming out right now. I'm like, okay, Nori,
Drink
DJ
Chaps.
Flapjack. Okay, these people I gotta look them up.
So we're on stage and they're like asking everyone on the panel like questions, and it was so funny to watch because like this audience is a bunch of people that are like interested in either becoming podcasters, learning about podcasting, fans of podcasts. And so they're like, what do you think about this topic, Combat Jack or whatever? He's like, all right, so you need to get to 100,000. If you don't have 100,000 people listening per episode, don't even try to monetize because they're not gonna be da-da-da-da, right? And then, DJ F, and what do you think? And he's like, oh, I need to be this many people and this many times. And they get to us and we're like, all right, so like we do it 5 days a week.
We did the engine it could.
And listen, all you really need is like 500 people that's willing to like pay to listen. And it really don't matter how much. You can just start with that much, and all you need is enough money to pay for your hosting fees. So like, you really don't even need 5. You could get 10 people to give you $5. Now you're hosting for free. And like as the panel went along, we kept doing those answers. You can see the audience just waiting for us because they're like, we can't do whatever the fuck y'all are talking about.
Like they on a different level. We ain't there yet.
Like we get off stage, like they're crowding around us and shit.
Like all types of questions.
Like, hey man, hold on. So I'm a student, and you were saying it only costs $25 if you host on such and such. I'm like, you can host it for free on this website. So it was
yeah, I mean, I'm still hosting. I'm hosting on like Libsyn, which I got on like in the mid 2000s. Just went back. I was like, $10 a month or whatever. I will only do a couple episodes. But also, it's like I don't even like what are good numbers for a podcast? I don't even know.
Yeah,
that's when people are like, is it doing well? I'm like, I don't know what well is.
Right, because there's no standard. Like it's no industry standard.
Well, one of the things I did a long time ago was look up this. It was like a survey or study about podcasts, and I'm sure y'all can Google it or whatever. But it would tell you like these averages. So everyone that has a podcast, especially if you feel like it's not successful enough, and you feel like whatever, go look up these studies because I guarantee you're gonna be like, oh, I'm tripping, because it was like the average podcast is last 6 episodes.
Yep.
Shit like that. The average podcast has less than like 100 listeners, stuff like that. So it's like we're killing ourselves. And then the thing that for us that did it was once we went to Spotify and you see like you're talking to other people that have podcasts there, and you're like, man, this podcast seems like a big deal, but we're doing better than them. And we're decidedly not as big a deal as them because a lot of it at this point, as you brought up, with it being an industry now, is about appearing to be a big deal.
Right.
People gave us so much props for getting on Spotify, and because it's like a white cosign, like, oh, you guys did it. But we lost listeners because we're going platform exclusive. So you're like losing downloads, you're losing active listeners and stuff. And it's like, well, we're getting paid from this company, but we're getting less listenership than we had before. So what's the real success there? Is it success that, hey, I mean, obviously we took the money. Is it success that we're getting paid? Sure, that's success there. But if it's success that our reach got smaller, even as people treat us like our reach got bigger, there's a disconnection there. So I think for a lot of people, I would just work, like, make sure your shit is done weekly or whenever you set a schedule, monthly, stick to your schedule. And a lot of times you grow organically, and by doing crossovers and stuff like this, that's been better than advertising for us.
Yes.
The only other time we grew faster than this was when we were on Spotify. Spotify could just hit like a switch, and it would tell everyone that logged in that had similar podcast tastes, like, go listen to Rod and Karen.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And then you see the numbers jump the fuck up.
Yeah.
And then come down, is like 2 weeks later when they stop doing it, come back down a bit, and you're like, why don't y'all just do that every day? Y'all do that shit for Joe Rogan, just fucking turn on the switch for us. We'll be the number 10 podcast on Spotify, and then you can fucking, but whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I love the show.
Thank you.
The main thing I like about it is that y'all like Star Wars, and not even in the like patronizing way, because obviously there's still things that y'all are like they could do better about this, or I'd like to see this instead or whatever. But y'all don't come at it from the way that's been really popularized, which is like, I don't want no women helping my Star Wars. Remember back in the day when it was just a white man and his white friends saving the galaxy? Like, I love that y'all are just more like
everything else can be made up, but not black people.
Yeah, y'all are actively inclusive. And
I mean, we're one of, if not the only, I think we're one of the only Star Wars podcasts, which are over 500 Star Wars podcasts.
Wow.
I don't know how many are active all the time, but when there's a database and like there are over 500 shows. I think we're the only one that has 2 black people on it.
Wow.
Maybe I'm wrong, and I would love to know about the show that also has multiple black hosts on Stars, but not that I've seen or heard of. And so, there are great black people in Star Wars. Christina Ariel, who's hosting the High Republic show, who I got to meet at Star Wars Celebration. She's awesome. There's a lot of great people doing stuff, but I think the difference is that our way of doing Star Wars is not monetizable. So like if we moved from making podcasts to really long YouTube videos with like clickbait titles, you don't make that kind of internet Star Wars money off liking stuff.
Right.
Because it's not controversial, and doesn't make you want to respond. It doesn't make you want to share it. It makes you just go, those guys, I had a fun time. And the thing is, I'm coming from a comedy background where it's like, I don't need this show to be monetized. I'm doing it for fun. So when you finish it, I want you to go, that was fun. I got to hang out with those guys and hear them talk about stuff. That was fun. We did a fun, dumb thing. And like, and so we're trying to be inclusive. Yeah. But I think just like less inclusive, more representative of just like, I know everybody likes Star Wars. I know there's people of every description that like Star Wars. They might like a different part than I do. When I was at Star Wars Celebration in Anaheim a couple months ago, they had a droid racing competition where you would build and race droids. Wow. And I was waiting to see a friend to go to a different thing. And this family, mom, dad, 2 kids, black family, in matching custom mechanic jackets for their family's droid building team.
Oh,
my God, that was adorable.
Yeah, and they like went to the bathroom and then came out and got ready for their race. And I'm like, those people
that's what I like about the con.
It was great, but they like Star Wars in a totally different way than me, and that's cool because I don't have to get it. I'm like, it's big enough that it can be like, I think that's cool. I'm not going to sit and watch these races because I got to be at this other thing. But that's so cool that you like that enough that you guys came here just to do that. Like, it's great, and so like we like it. We're trying to be inclusive. I mean, we have a ways to go. We need to have a lot more women on our show, which is like. Because we've had a lot of guests, but not enough women on the show, and like because also it's like it's the stereotypical weird thing of like you feel bad asking somebody like what am I gonna do? Go through my phone. Hi,
you come be a woman.
Do you like Star Wars, woman? Do you like Star Wars? So we've got some people lined up that I think are going to be fun and talk about stuff. But yeah, trying to have people on from different spaces.
I think the thing for me is like like the episode where y'all talked about the reaction to Reva and stuff like that kind of thing is so important to me because it's like there's this line there. You either have the people that do the clickbait, like I hate Star Wars and let me tell you why social justice warriors are blah, blah, blah. So throw them out, right? We know they're terrible. But then you have people that think they're kind of like well-intentioned or whatever, but then they do this thing of like, well, what we'll do is we'll just not talk about how toxic the fan base can be because, we just want to keep it light and talk about the show. And you're like, yeah, but like, it should be news that this woman was harassed enough to where
she had to address it.
And the man who plays Obi-Wan and produces the show had to make a video. That feels relevant to this. And so I like that y'all don't like dodge that kind of stuff. And like I said, I love the podcast. I listen every week, and you guys are killing it, man.
Thank you so much. I mean, I think we because we're talking about it as people who make television and make visual art, we also want to talk about that TV side and the entertainment side, even with the Moses Ingram stuff. But I think also I was on another Star Wars podcast recently, and it was and I got asked by the host, who was white but is also very active about calling out those people, about like, well, what is it like as a black fan to see all that stuff? And I'd be honest, like my honest answer was like, honestly, it's like every sector of life has horrible white racists in it. So like, there's no part of me that's like surprised or bothered or like even, I don't think I'm like more bothered. Like, and I think the way I would put it is like, there are some white people who are like storming the Capitol to hang the vice president. Right. And then there are some people who are saying that this space wizard shouldn't be brown. And I'm way more scared of the insurrection ones. Yeah. Like these guys are like, I mean, like really bad white men do mass shootings, and mildly bad white men complain about Star Wars.
Like at least the Star Wars complainers won't leave the house.
Yeah, and but also it's like, I guess my biggest thing about them, I say this on the show all the time, is like, but you guys lost because you don't make anything. So like, which I mean, Connor talked about, who plays George Lucas on George Lucas Talk Show, which is like, put your script up. Like, like don't, because here they do this BS. I'm gonna get on a little Star Wars rant, right here at the end, but like, there's these, now they're doing these fan edits of Kenobi, and I love fan films. Star Wars has a bunch of a big fan film community, people who make original Star Wars movies themselves. They put a ton of time and money into it, and some are cheesy, some are good, whatever. But it's great that you made a thing. Yeah. Right. And then you have people who are like, no, I'm going to go in and fan edit, because what they think that means is that it makes them a director, a writer, a creator, but it doesn't. It makes them a DJ doing a remix. Right. Yeah. And so it's like you guys haven't done anything. You can't make anything. And so I'm over here, like, I make TV shows. That's what I get to do. I get to do my dream job. I go make a TV show and people like it or don't, but I made a TV show. You made a comment. You made a little internet thing. You didn't make anything. So you can be so mad that it didn't go the way you want. But part of that's because no one likes being around you or your untalented ideas enough to pay you to do it. And so as much as they want to get everything riled up and blah, 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 it's like, you guys are just a bunch of dudes standing outside the movie theater complaining it didn't go the way you wanted. And that's been happening forever. And you guys, the only way that changes if you grow enough talent to actually make something people would be willing to see, which it also is possible.
Reminds, the other thing, and this is why I get like defensive the further the shit goes along, because like just the way capitalism works and Hollywood works, it starts getting to us around now. And so now here's like if Greg's gonna get to write a Star Wars film, is gonna happen around now, right? So like, it's not gonna be 3 years ago. So it's gonna be so it's like right when it gets to now is when everybody's like over it, and I'm like, no, I'm not over it yet. Because they keep announcing like now you're announcing all these women are getting stuff. Taika Waititi is getting something. Like, now I'm actually more interested. And honestly, the further it gets away from some of the main characters, the more I get interested. Where I'm like, oh, cool, they got to create some total, like Reva was a big deal for me because I was like, never seen this before, hadn't heard of her, didn't really know anything. Boom, well, I'm interested to know her story. And yes, there's a black woman portraying her. Like, that's a big deal for me. And I remember when we saw The Force Awakens, it was like and like one of the complaints that from the people we knew was like, man, as a black woman, I love this. I love Star Wars too, but I always feel like I'm not represented. And they had been looking forward to Lupita Nyong'o, and she ended up playing Maz as like a CGI thing. And they were like, I was in the trailer, I was hoping like she's gonna be the one to take off the helmet and we're gonna get to see her. And so it took years. You get Reva, and then people are like, isn't it just diversity and social justice? It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I want to see this. Like, I do want to see what they do, and I hope they do it justice. So like I said, I appreciate that about your podcast, and that's part of my fandom too.
Well, thank you. And I mean, again, it's like there are plenty of things that we don't love, and I think the actual mature thing is you go, okay.
Yeah, basically.
It's like I didn't like it. Okay. I moved on with my life. There's other things. So if one of the shows isn't that good, or if a movie isn't that good, or the book isn't, I go, okay. Right. They're gonna make more. It's not the last one,
and it might be good to someone else. And like, I'm glad you found your thing. Yes. You know what I mean?
It's like if I go to a restaurant and they have a new fish special and I try and I don't like it, I'm not like, I'm gonna stand outside this restaurant and boycott for the next 4 days because I didn't like how the salmon tasted. No, I just go somewhere else because I'm a
that's what I do. If that's the case, I would be protesting because
I'm gonna make a YouTube video just telling people don't eat salmon. Like, yeah,
bunch of people
we get it, buddy.
standing outside of Jack in the Box being like, I got diarrhea. Like, yeah, we know it's Jack in the Box.
me and
Also,
salmon got beef.
It's a thing of going like, there are things I like that aren't good.
Yes.
And there are things I don't like that are good.
Right. Yeah.
Those
Say
are
this all the
they're
time.
disconnected.
Yeah,
And that's
and
fine.
people-
I hated
understand.
the Lego movie. I
I
know
loved
it's
it.
me. I
Yeah.
don't argue with people about it. I don't know what the fuck happened. I don't know. I wish I knew what happened so I could tell y'all why I don't like it.
I think
can't use the words
part of it
for
is these guys are either not married or are really shitty husbands, because it's like being
That's
married,
probably-
you have to do this thing where you're like, I hate this thing and you love it.
Yeah.
So it's here. That's okay.
Yeah. We're watching Naruto Shippuden, and it's nothing but fucking filler
That's
for
it.
some reason. I don't know why. I don't know when this happens. The middle of the goddamn last Great Ninja War, but they just decided to take 17 episodes to go back in the day and talk about sandwiches. But you know what? I just hit play and we sit there and we watch
That's
it
right.
together.
Because
Yes.
a successful marriage, both people have the skill where they can go, this sucks and I'm okay with it.
Yeah,
Yes.
you just
'Cause
got to
it's
do
like,
that.
you know,
man.
we're gonna eat at my favorite we're gonna eat at my favorite place tonight. Okay. There's
Yeah.
nothing there I like. There's nothing on the menu I like. If I try to eat something else secretly before or after, you're gonna find out and get mad. So I can't do that. So we're gonna
So now-
I guess we're
yeah.
eating what you like. And I'm
Yeah.
gonna smile and be fine
I've even
because I
Yeah.
know in a week we're gonna order what I like. Like
I
it's
even
just, that's just
tried.
life.
I even tried this thing one time, Greg, where with the apps, I can order something, you can order something. We don't even have to order the same thing. For some reason, that didn't work. I don't know why. Philosophically, something happened, and I don't know what happened,
I don't
but
know, my brain
somehow that was
like-
wrong. Somehow I was
Yeah.
wrong.
My brain was like, no, we need to order from the same place.
Yeah,
I know
it's gotta
that don't
be
make no sense, y'all. I know.
one
I
order.
know it right. Maybe, and I don't know if it's a mental thing or what. I know I could go on the app and order anything I want from anywhere. But I'm like, if you order Chipotle, I got to order Chipotle. Do it make sense? No.
When did you meet your wife, by the way, man? I forgot to ask.
I met her in 2014 in the Starbucks across the street from Madison Square Garden.
Wow. So you had like a real New York story.
Oh yeah, and then my kids were both born on Manhattan.
Wow.
So I'm like, I'm a New York. I didn't realize it until we left for the summer to get out of town, and leaving. I was like, oh my gosh, I somehow become a New Yorker.
Could you ever go back and live in Arizona, like when this is all done?
It's too hot.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
too hot.
No joke.
Plus, I just saw something today that said like they passed a law you can't film the police in Arizona.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
like,
but that stuff's been bad. The other thing is like in Arizona though, it's like you can have a gun anywhere. So it's like at least if you're a black person, you have a chance because you got a gun, they got a gun.
you might do some OK Corral
Yeah,
shit.
yeah, it's like okay, we're gonna
Yeah,
go. Let's go.
the cactus got a gun there, but here's a gun for you.
Because that's the one
I
thing is like they're not doing an Ahmaud Arbery to you in Arizona.
Yeah.
Because you could be like, oh,
I
really?
wouldn't mind the idea of
You
everyone
pull that truck
having
over.
a
Let's find
gun.
out.
I wouldn't mind the idea of everyone having a gun if they brought back the duel. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like I think if
I see.
everyone's
I
gonna
think
have a gun,
everyone should be able to have a gun, but not a pistol. And now I'm not
Like
talking
a
a fully
musket?
automatic rifle. No, a semi-automatic rifle, like the old ones from World War II, where it's like cling, 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 tick, and then you got to put a new one in. And it's like, okay, we can all have. We don't no super magazines. No,
I
anything.
want
You gotta have
I
an
want
old.
6
like-
shooters, mandatory. The only guns we sell are 6 shooters,
Oh, man.
and the only time you can shoot them has to be a prearranged. Like,
Yeah.
hey, Greg, I didn't like the jokes you wrote today. You're like, you know what? Fuck you, Rod. I didn't
Yep.
like your jokes. Well, meet me at the Starbucks at high noon.
And I would be like,
then we
And
gonna
take
fix it.
12 paces.
I'd be like, Rod, please aim for just my gut so I live. I'll lose, it's fine, but just hit me in like the gut, just on the
Right.
side. Just nick me.
I just feel like I'd resolve a lot more.
Yeah, it's
things.
like, Rod, don't kill me, man.
Twice.
Just give me.
Yeah.
We shoot each other in the butt. It's fine. It's not a big
Yeah.
deal.
I'm gonna cut
Yeah.
the joke. Oh, really? You know what? Fuck it. I don't want to.
I will say
got
the
you.
first thing I think about as an Arizonan with that is 6-year thing is like so much sand is gonna get in those guns and just
Oh yeah.
gum them up. That's horrible.
Oh yeah. I can't wait for
I'm
the
gonna keep mine in a
misfires.
Ziploc bag. I'll be like, hold on.
I can't. I can't wait for the first person to have to reload. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's get some motherfucking skills
1
up
second.
here.
I bet you people to learn gun safety then.
Yeah. Like imagine you get mad at somebody, you're like, man, I'm gonna fuck you
Wait,
up.
which did I
boy.
change this out? What's up?
Don't,
Yeah, I
don't
mean,
go
I grew
nowhere.
up in there, so we had a ton of guns because that's I grew up in a very
Yeah, it's
responsible, safe house, but like a house that was like we had them. Kids did not ever see them. They were in a locked, key locked thing at the top of a closet we couldn't get to, and then eventually my parents had a gun safe, like so it was like you just couldn't ever get to them. But then you'd go out shooting, you know, like to the desert or whatever, and like shoot at targets or do that stuff, so that you could be like, this is how to not accidentally kill yourself with a gun. Don't point it at anyone ever. Don't ever, you know, like always act like it's loaded. Don't ever put your finger near the trigger. Don't do this. Here's where the safety is. Here's where the safety, how it turns on and off, all that stuff. Like, so that we learn that stuff so that it was ever a situation where like you had to just pick one up. You weren't so scared that you accidentally hurt another person or yourself.
Well, the way I learned was if you get mad at somebody or something and you're 18, just get an AR-15.
No,
I mean? Like,
no, bad advice.
There's no waiting either. You just snag one.
I mean, right away, by the way. Like, what's the holdup?
Like, get it while you're still mad. You should you should still be in the argument on text.
Yeah.
You should still be.
I should be able to say, nah, fuck you. Hold on. Be right back. I should be able to do that. Come back and the next text be like, what's your location?
Apple Pay for my gun.
Oh man. Well, thank you, Greg. This is fun, man. Long time making.
Thank you so much.
Make sure y'all check them out.
Podcast is Yubnub.
Yubnub is the podcast, just like the Ewoks say. On Twitter, it's Gary Jackson. What is the why is it Gary Jackson?
I got called Gary at this one conference incorrectly so many times that I just started accepting it as my name. And then I was like, well, I need a black last name if I'm creating an alternate identity. So Gary Jackson is my black identity. Maybe that's why I didn't get verified on Twitter. I don't know. But
probably because I definitely went searching for Greg Iwinski to tag to the thing. And I was like, this Greg has 2 followers. That ain't his name.
And you know who they are? Me. I just made that account so I had Greg Iwinski. It's
y'all verify this one?
Gary Jackson's my fake name, and I've had that account since 2008, so I'm not changing it now.
Yeah, it's too late. You're in the mix, bro.
That's
you gotta
me,
go with Gary Jackson forever, man.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks,
we'll be back tomorrow with more podcasts. Until then, I love you.
I love you too.
Mwah. Bye, Greg.
Bye. Have a good one, sweet.